Mary Kay Cabot didn't need to say it outright. Her critique of Dylan Gabriel's game spoke volumes. After the Browns' underwhelming performance against the Vikings, Cabot pointed directly at Gabriel's limited ability to throw beyond checkdowns and subtly nudged the conversation toward Shedeur Sanders. The insider's tone made one thing clear: Gabriel's short-range safety net isn't fooling anyone anymore. With defenses expected to adapt fast and Gabriel struggling to see downfield,
if you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Cabot's message echoed what fans have been yelling for weeks: it's time to give Sanders a real shot. Fans weren't passive observers. Social media lit up with frustration, calling Gabriel predictable and the Browns' quarterback strategy inexplicable. Cabot's comments only legitimized that outcry, signaling that the organization's own voices might be losing patience. Whether intentional or not, her words turned speculation into pressure, and it's pressure the Browns coaching staff can't afford to ignore much longer. Dylan Gabriel just gave Browns fans a performance so underwhelming, it had people openly begging for Shedeur Sanders, and not even subtly. The whispers are getting louder, and Mary Kay Cabot, longtime Browns insider, just poured gasoline on the fire. She didn't name names, but the message was loud and clear: Gabriel's style isn't going to cut it, and someone like Sanders would be a better fit. Browns Twitter? Already halfway into a jersey swap. Let's rewind. The Browns gave Dylan Gabriel the nod, and fans hoped for, at the very least, competency. What they got was a quarterback seemingly allergic to throwing the ball more than 10 yards. Minnesota gave him space, and instead of taking advantage, Gabriel stuck to checkdowns like his life depended on it. No pocket presence, no vision downfield, just rollouts and short throws that made the offense look like it was stuck in quicksand. And it wasn't just fans noticing it. Media voices started to chime in, dissecting every snap and highlighting the same glaring issues. Gabriel isn't tall, and it's showing. He struggles to see over the line, and his solution? Just dump it off short. Again. And again. Defenses are already adjusting. It's predictable. It's containable. And it's not sustainable. That's where Mary Kay Cabot comes in. In classic insider fashion, she didn't flat out say, bench Gabriel and get Sanders, but she may as well have. Her critique zeroed in on Gabriel's inability to stretch the field. She made it clear that opposing defenses are going to start sitting on those short routes, daring him to throw deep. And unless Gabriel magically grows a few inches or learns to see the field in a new way, he's going to struggle. It was the kind of commentary that says more between the lines than directly, and what it said was simple: Shedeur Sanders could do better. And honestly, the fans agree. Social media lit up after the game. Posts calling Gabriel terrible started trending among Browns circles. Multiple fans pointed out the same issue: he can't push the ball downfield. 10 yards seems like a stretch. When your quarterback is described like a scared game manager on a 3-yard leash, you have a problem. Gabriel's entire game seems to hinge on rollouts and throwing it safe. But once defenses catch on to that rhythm, and they already are, it's game over. Minnesota gave him a chance to breathe, and this was still the outcome. Think about what happens when an elite defensive coordinator decides to collapse the pocket and contain his rollouts. Where's he going to go? What's he going to do? That playbook becomes very, very small. Meanwhile, the comparisons to Sanders aren't just emotional reactions. They're grounded in real concerns about the offense's future. People are starting to question the entire strategy. Why stick with a quarterback who can't make those crucial reads or deliver when it matters? You need someone who can handle a collapsing pocket, who can make tight throws in big moments, who can stretch the field so defenses have to back off. Gabriel, right now, isn't that guy. That's what makes Mary Kay's comments so impactful. She didn't call for a QB switch, but she didn't have to. Her breakdown of Gabriel's game emphasized his limitations so sharply, it was obvious who she believed would be a better fit. Sanders, with better arm strength, vision, and overall command, has become the unofficial fan favorite. Not because he's perfect, but because he represents the kind of quarterback play this offense needs. This isn't just a one-off reaction to a bad game. It's becoming a pattern. Gabriel has had chances. And every time the coaching staff lines him up as the starter, the same questions resurface. What's the ceiling here? Can he evolve? Or are we just watching the Browns try to patchwork their offense with a quarterback who maxes out at 5-yard completions? Fans are already making their case. Comments across Twitter, Reddit, and Browns forums all echo the same frustrations. Gabriel looks overwhelmed. He's limited. And he's not showing signs of growth. There's no fire, no spark, just a quarterback trying not to mess up, when what the Browns need is someone trying to take over a game. This QB conversation is getting louder. And it's not just a debate anymore, it's a referendum on how the Browns are managing this offense. Are they really trying to develop a future contender, or are they just surviving week to week with safe, forgettable play? Because safe doesn't win games in this league. Predictable gets you beat. And that's exactly where Gabriel is leading this offense. You can almost feel the tension in the locker room. How long do you let this play out before you make a change? Because the more Gabriel struggles, the more it makes sense to give someone else a shot. Sanders isn't even in the building yet, but he's already in the conversation. That's how bad the optics are right now. And Mary Kay Cabot just added fuel to that speculation, subtly but unmistakably. The coaching staff has to be feeling the pressure. They can't ignore the chatter, and they definitely can't ignore the fans. When the people in the stands, the people online, and even the beat reporters are all pointing to the same issue, you can't just act like everything's fine. Because it's not. You've got a quarterback who looks capped out and a fan base begging for something, anything, more dynamic. And to be clear, nobody's saying Sanders is a guaranteed star. But the ceiling? It's higher. The upside? It's real. And right now, that's more than what Gabriel's giving you. The Browns are stuck in a system that's too scared to fail, and it's costing them wins. You can't build a competitive team around a quarterback who checks down like it's the only play he knows. Eventually, it collapses under its own caution. There's a bigger conversation here too, about development, risk-taking, and knowing when to pivot. Gabriel got his chance. He showed what he brings to the table. And unfortunately, what he brings is a limited playbook and a shrinking field. You can't stretch the defense when your quarterback can't, or won't, throw past the sticks. That kind of play is fine in theory, but in practice? It's killing drives and momentum. Sanders might not fix everything overnight, but he represents hope. He represents a quarterback who can actually test defenses, make tough throws, and force opponents to respect the pass. That alone opens up the run game, changes how defenses play you, and breathes life into the offense. The Browns desperately need that. Because whatever spark they thought Gabriel could bring, it's already fizzling out. And now the Browns have a decision to make. Stick with what's safe or take a calculated risk on potential. Keep running it back with a quarterback everyone sees as limited, or invest in someone who might give you the edge you need. Mary Kay Cabot's comments didn't say it outright, but the implication was heavy. Change is needed. So, you can only ride the check-down train for so long before the fans get off at the next station. And judging by the online reaction, that moment has arrived. Sanders isn't just a name in the transfer portal anymore. He's the future people are pointing to, and if the Browns are smart, they'll start listening. So what do you think? Are fans overreacting? Or is the writing on the wall for Dillon Gabriel? Should the Browns take the leap and prioritize a quarterback with more upside? Drop your take in the comments, and if you're here for all the messy drama and football chaos, don't forget to like and subscribe. This quarterback conversation is far from over, and it's only going to get louder. This isn't just about one bad game. It's about a pattern of play that's starting to define Gabriel's ceiling. When a quarterback is getting called out by name, or even just thinly veiled insinuation, by one of the most well-connected reporters in the organization, it means the media isn't just speculating anymore. They're echoing what people inside the building are probably already thinking but can't say out loud. Mary Kay Cabot's been covering this team forever. She knows the politics. She knows how to deliver a message without lighting the building on fire. So when she starts drawing attention to the idea that defenses are going to key in on Gabriel's limitations, that's not just a warning shot, it's a forecast. She's essentially saying, this won't last. And the worst part? She's not wrong. You saw it with the Vikings. The Browns moved the ball, but never in a way that felt threatening. Every throw looked like it was meant to avoid a mistake instead of make a play. Gabriel's body language said everything. No urgency, no command, just going through the motions, waiting for the defense to give him something easy. That doesn't cut it in the NFL. Or anywhere close to it. The fans know. They've seen this before. They've lived through too many false starts and stopgap quarterbacks. The moment they recognize another game manager who plays scared, they start calling for someone who can at least shake things up. That's why Sanders' name is everywhere right now, even though he hasn't taken a single snap for the Browns. It's not even about him being perfect. It's about what he represents, an escape hatch. And don't underestimate how powerful that is. Because when your offense is built around short throws, the defense doesn't have to respect anything deep. Corners sit on routes. Safeties cheat up. Linebackers get aggressive. Everything compresses. and suddenly your 5-yard gain becomes a loss. Or a turnover. Or worse, a 3-and-out that demoralizes the entire sideline. That's the problem with playing it safe. Eventually, safe becomes dangerous. Defenses adapt. The offense shrinks. And the quarterback gets exposed. That's what Mary Kay was trying to say without saying it. Gabriel's style isn't just limited. It's unsustainable. And again, no one is saying Sanders is the Messiah. But he is a quarterback who can throw deep, who can make quick reads, who doesn't need the offense to be babied. That's the difference. That's what has people fired up. Because the Browns aren't just losing games, they're losing confidence. And in the NFL, when your fan base loses hope in the quarterback, it's a matter of when, not if, the change happens. Even players notice. Maybe not publicly. Maybe not in press conferences. But in the locker room? They know when a guy doesn't have it. They feel the rhythm or lack thereof. And they start thinking about what it would be like to play with someone who does take shots, who can make the big throw. That kind of energy can't be faked. It's either there or it isn't. Right now it isn't. And that's why this isn't going away. Every week Gabriel stays under center and fails to stretch the field, the clamor for Sanders will grow. And once you lose the locker room, or the fan base, it's only a matter of time. Coaches can talk about trust and development all they want, but if the offense keeps sputtering, their hands are going to be forced. Even more frustrating is the way the staff seems to be tiptoeing around it. There's no public criticism, no bold comments, just vague support and coach speak. We believe in our guys. He's developing well. But development can't be an excuse forever. Not when the stakes are this high. Not when your offense looks like it's been stuck in second gear for weeks. What happens when the defense gets tired of bailing out the offense? What happens when the receivers start showing visible frustration on the field? You know it's coming. You've seen it before. This is how quarterback controversies start. Not with a bang, but with a slow, painful unraveling that everyone sees coming except the people making the decisions. Gabriel's strengths, mobility, accuracy on short throws, decent pocket escape, are fine in theory. But when those strengths become the only parts of his game being used, the playbook becomes stale. Predictability sets in. And once you're predictable, you're beatable. Especially in a league where defensive coordinators are already 5 steps ahead. So now the question becomes, how long does this charade continue? If Gabriel goes out next game and throws for 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, and stretches the field? Great. Debate over. But if it's another 5.2 yards per attempt game with more checkdowns than first downs, this situation is going to reach a boiling point. And Mary Kay's comments? They'll look prophetic. The truth is, fans aren't just calling for Sanders because of what Gabriel isn't. They're calling for him because of what he could be. That potential matters. That upside means something. Especially when what you're watching on Sundays feels like watching someone try to win a race by walking. You need a quarterback who challenges defenses, who makes secondaries sweat. One who forces a safety to actually backpedal. Right now, defenses are walking up to the line daring Gabriel to beat them deep, and he isn't. Which means the offense stays compressed, the windows shrink, and everything gets harder. That's how teams collapse. Not from one bad play, but from the accumulation of predictable ones. The Browns have to make a choice. Stick with what's safe and predictable, or pivot toward someone with the ability to open up the offense. Sanders might not be perfect, but he represents a future where teams actually have to respect your passing game. Where your quarterback doesn't get taken out of the game by a good game plan. Where your offense doesn't rely on broken tackles and 5-yard curls. Mary Kay didn't need to drop a name. She said enough. The message was clear. This isn't going to work much longer. And now the clock's ticking. Every game Gabriel starts without growth puts more pressure on the coaching staff. Every check down on 3rd and long, every missed read, every throw behind the line of scrimmage, it all adds up. At a certain point, the front office can't spin it anymore. The film speaks for itself. The fans are already speaking for themselves. And the louder they get, the harder it'll be to ignore. So here we are. A quarterback who looks capped out. A team that looks stuck. A fan base that's restless. And a media insider who just lit the match on a conversation that's been simmering for weeks. The question now isn't if this turns into a quarterback controversy. It already has. The only question is whether the Browns are going to listen, or wait until it's too late. The sad part is this isn't new for Browns fans. The quarterback carousel has been spinning for so long, it's practically a core part of the franchise identity. And now, with Dylan Gabriel looking like just another short-term answer, the weariness is setting in again. The frustration isn't just about this game or even this quarterback. It's the emotional whiplash of being promised growth and watching the same story repeat itself. It's like clockwork. A new QB walks in, flashes just enough to spark curiosity, then slowly unravels when defenses figure him out. The only difference now is that the cycle is happening faster. Gabriel's honeymoon period was what, 1 game? Maybe 2? That's how quickly fans are losing patience, and honestly, who can blame them? It's not just about effort anymore. Browns fans don't want another guy who tries hard. They want a quarterback who changes games. Someone who can carry momentum, not just ride it. And when Gabriel took the field and repeatedly checked down when deeper options were available, or worse, missed those options entirely, it told you everything you needed to know. That's what Mary Kay was getting at when she subtly ripped into his play style. It wasn't malicious. It was honest. She wasn't being petty, she was diagnosing a real problem. And whether she meant to or not, she dropped a name into the collective consciousness of the fanbase. Shedeur Sanders. Because when your offense feels lifeless, fans will naturally gravitate toward the quarterback with the potential to shake things up. They'll daydream about what could happen if someone with more firepower was behind center. They'll latch onto possibilities. That's what hope looks like in a struggling franchise. And right now, Sanders is that hope. Again, it's not even about him being flawless. It's about energy. Potential. The idea of a quarterback who doesn't fold the second a play breaks down. Someone who doesn't need the entire offensive line to win the play for him. Sanders has that kind of reputation. He plays with vision. He plays with confidence. And that's exactly what this team is lacking. Gabriel, for all his positives, doesn't command the field. He doesn't own the game. He's reactive, not proactive. That's why you see so many rollouts and quick checkdowns, because he's not scanning the field to make a big-time throw. He's just trying to get the ball out before things fall apart. That kind of play is a ticking time bomb. Eventually, a defense will sniff it out and feast on it. Minnesota gave the Browns some leeway, but let's not pretend other teams won't come in with a better plan. All it takes is a defensive front that contains Gabriel's movement and forces him to stay in the pocket. And suddenly, his limitations are on full display. It's not like the offensive line is the problem. They're giving him time. He's just not using it. He's bailing early. He's locking in on short reads. And the worst part? He's not threatening anyone deep. So defenses can compress the field and dare him to beat them with arm strength, which he hasn't shown. You don't win games like that. You survive them. And even that's starting to feel generous. There's a reason the online reactions have been so sharp. It's not trolling. It's not overreaction. It's exhaustion. Fans are tired of watching quarterbacks who look overwhelmed. They want someone who wants the big moment, not someone who shrinks from it. And right now, Sanders represents the opposite of everything Gabriel's showing on the field. He's the guy who could potentially stretch defenses, open up the playbook, and force teams to respect every level of the field. That's not a fantasy, it's what modern offenses are built on. And if you don't have that kind of quarterback in today's game, you're just waiting to get exposed. You think the locker room doesn't feel that energy? Players talk. Receivers know when a QB isn't seeing the whole field. They know when their deep routes are being ignored. That frustration doesn't take long to boil over. One missed opportunity turns into 10, and suddenly the sideline feels cold. It's not personal, it's professional. Everyone's job depends on production, and if the quarterback can't deliver, the ripple effect is real. This is why the conversation isn't just happening on social media anymore. It's leaking into press conferences, into film sessions, into sideline body language. Every time Gabriel trots back out with another series of conservative throws, you can feel the energy dip. And when an insider like Mary Kay Cabot calls it out, that's not a fluke. That's a pressure release valve. She's saying what people are thinking but can't say out loud. Not yet, anyway. The worst part is that Gabriel isn't a total disaster. He's competent. But competence isn't going to cut it in this division, in this league, not when your offense is already walking on eggshells. The Browns need someone who tilts the field, not someone who just manages the clock. Because once defenses stop fearing your quarterback, everything else falls apart. And that's what we're seeing now. The Browns are being forced to scheme around Gabriel's limitations instead of building on his strengths. That's a death sentence for offensive identity. You want to be a contender? You can't hide your quarterback. You need to feature him. That's why the Sanders conversation is gaining so much momentum. Fans aren't begging for a miracle, they're asking for a plan, a direction, a reason to believe the team is aiming higher than just don't lose us the game. Because let's be honest, Gabriel's playing like someone trying not to mess up. And that's not inspiring. That's not leadership. That's survival mode. You don't build a franchise around survival mode. So what's next? If the coaching staff wants to hold this thing together, They need to be honest about what they're seeing. Not just to the media but to themselves. Because pretending this offense is fine when it's clearly not is only going to make the collapse worse. Every game they delay this decision is another week of stale offense, missed opportunities and growing discontent. No one's saying Gabriel should be benched tomorrow. But the window is shrinking. Fast. And if Sanders keeps getting name-dropped in conversations like this, the message becomes unavoidable. A change is coming. It might not be official yet, but it's already in motion. This is how quarterback controversies start. A few bad games. Some thinly veiled media comments. A spark from the fan base. And suddenly, everyone's looking at the backup, or in this case, the guy who should be in the conversation, even if he's not on the roster yet. That's where we're at. A franchise on edge. A quarterback under the microscope. And a fan base ready to turn the page. At this point, sticking with Dillon Gabriel isn't just a coaching decision, it's a statement. A statement that the Browns are okay with mediocrity. That they're more afraid of change than they are of staying stuck. And you can feel that disappointment in every fan reaction, every clipped highlight with a sarcastic caption, every receiver throwing their hands up after being missed wide open downfield. This team isn't just playing tight, it's playing scared. And scared football doesn't win games. When your quarterback's defining trait is doesn't make too many mistakes, you're already playing from behind. That's the kind of phrase you use when you don't have anything else to say. He's not decisive, he's not dynamic, and he's not elevating the talent around him. And maybe that's the most damning part. Because when your quarterback is supposed to be the guy who brings everything together, and instead he's the piece you have to scheme around. That's not a future. That's a delay. That's why the Shedeur Sanders hype is starting to feel less like a fantasy and more like a necessity. There's no official countdown. No front office press release. But there doesn't have to be. The people watching this team, the ones sitting in the stadium refreshing social media, tuning into every snap, they know what they're seeing. And it's not good enough. It's the same movie with a different cast. And the ending? Always the same. That's why Mary Kay's subtle shade hit so hard. It wasn't just analysis, it was confirmation. A nod that what fans are yelling into the void is valid. That the people who've watched this team closely for years see the same cracks forming. The check-down obsession. The missed throws. The complete lack of vertical threat. She didn't have to name Sanders directly. She knew everyone would connect the dots. Because when your current quarterback looks like a placeholder, everyone's going to start looking for the replacement. This isn't personal. It's football. It's production. It's wins. And if the Browns don't start acting like they understand that, they're going to lose more than games, they're going to lose the fan base's trust. Again. So, front office, coaching staff, whoever's calling the shots, wake up. The tape doesn't lie. The media sees it. The players feel it. The fans definitely know it. Gabriel's leash isn't just short, it's fraying. And the clock is ticking. So what's your verdict? Is the Browns' QB future already waiting in the wings? Or do you still think Gabriel can turn this around? Sound off in the comments and let it all out. And if you're here for every twist, turn, and quarterback meltdown this team throws our way, go ahead and subscribe. Trust me, this drama's just getting started.